Hello everybody, welcome back to this van conversion. Today we're getting one step closer to getting our underfloor heating done. We're going to be installing our PEX pipe in this video, but whilst we're waiting for that to arrive, we're going to be arranging the floor and making sure the underfloor is ready to receive the PEX pipe. We're going to have to cut the floor again into more pieces. Yes, this is crazy. Yes, we have to do it. And this is why. So here's the drill. So the underfloor heating is going right here underneath the floor. But it's not going to go underneath the kitchen counter and underneath here the bench, and obviously not underneath the couch where we have already dropped the floor. And we have decided that we want to make our floor liftable, which means that we want to have access to our piping at any point if we choose to. So we can't have our floor to join with the obviously the storage, so under the counter, under the bench. We can't have that floor overlapping, so we need to make cuts and then treat each section individually. It is a work in progress. I don't have a clear plan in my head. It keeps changing about every 5 minutes. But the one thing we know is that we need to get this floor out and cut.
Tell what it is yet?
Tetris.
Okay.
That's what it is. So this is our walkable floor. So all of this is something that will be free to walk on once things are done.
So again, these white lines are where our blue beams are, the blue beams that are secured in the floor, and this is where the underfloor heating pipe is going to run through. Only the stuff that's currently on the floor at the moment.
So back here, this is the underneath the kitchen counter, and that is the back bench right here. As a result, we need to shift around the raising beams that you see here, so the ply one.
Yeah, all these ones, because we don't need the raising beams here in this parts of the floor which are going to be dropped down, because there's no point having an air gap underneath them anymore. And we need to confirm the perimeter essentially around here now, because essentially we'll shift these beams so that it supports the edge of this piece of floor.
Yeah, so that one's actually pretty good.
Yeah, it just needs to be shifted that way a bit.
And that there has to be moved so it supports that edge. These ones are butted against the perimeter plank on this side, which is screwed in. Then we put a piece like that.
And as reference, I guess we can use those 3 pieces that are butted up, because this one doesn't have anything to butt up, see?
There you go. So that gives us where we need to be. If we just grab this, put a hand on that, we just need to mark that. So this is our point here.
So that's the corner.
Well,
so that's
this is the position of this.
Yeah.
There, on that line, and that one comes in front.
And that means that piece of floor can be lowered, and this is essentially where the edge of the raised floor comes to, and this is what it sits on. This is its perimeter.
Yeah.
So that piece and that piece going down there. Alrighty. So we've rearranged the floor beams a little bit. If you remember from our floor raising video, we had beams crisscrossing all over the place. We've reorganized them so they mostly fit on where the blue beams are now. And the other thing that we've toyed around with and tested out, we knew this was going to happen, is our wiring channel. So all our wires, instead of running through the shower, which we don't want to deal with because that's going to involve a lot of waterproofing, we're actually just going to run them through the floor since we have the space. So they're going to come from over here and connect to our electrical box there, run behind me, come out this channel, run down, and then you'll see we've cut a notch in the framing over there where they'll run in under the kitchen counter, and then ignore that mess over there because that's not sorted yet. So instead of just leaving these wires free floating on the insulation, we've actually managed to get a hold of some 65 by 65 millimeter pipe guttering, and we're just going to kind of slice it to 18 mil high and use that as a channel to be able to put these wires in, just so they don't move around everywhere and they're more protected.
So we can fit 6 cables here.
With room to spare, I would say.
Now let's just stick the this insulation buffer.
Yeah. Ollie!
Yeah.
Hex pipe!
Oh!
It came!
Oh. Ow! Okay, good news, guys.
Hex pipe! Hex pipe!
The hex pipe came.
Yeah.
What did we order?
12 mil pipe.
12 mil internal or external diameter?
External.
12 mil external diameter.
Yeah, so regular underfloor heating pipe is usually 16 mil, but I think that would have cut it quite close because we've only got 18 mil.
Yeah. So this is low profile PEX, aluminium PEX pipe essentially. Yeah. So PEX is a plastic, yeah?
Yeah, PEX is a regular type of plastic, and what's different about this as opposed to just the plastic pipe is it has a layer of aluminium sandwiched between the 2 layers of plastic, so it's able to expel the heat from the glycol that runs through it much better than just regular plastic.
We'll deal with the flow rate and other things to do with plumbing a bit later. Today's aim is just to put it in the floor and then leave it there. It just occurred to us that we actually haven't shown you the final result of all the floor maneuvering. So, at first glance, obviously you can see that right here at the back, we have also dropped the floor the same way as we did at the front where the couch is. And this also allows us to build our furniture that sits here at the same time as we're doing the floor. So that way the floor underneath the furniture and the walkable floor will not be interfering with each other. Also, another bonus, right here we have reduced the thickness of the floor from 9 to 6 mil, and that is saving a little bit of weight. You know, this underfloor heating has a very big sort of prototype feel. We're just figuring out as we go. We're having to correct previous decisions because we decided to do something else, and we're like, how do we do that now that we've done that? So next time around, we really need to streamline the process of, you know, all the different floor types and subfloors and sub-subfloors and insulation of that and this. Anywho, that's the dropping of the floor, and we have already, as you saw, cut the panels. So we have split our walkable floor into 3 big panels. This is the panel that's going to be the least like needing to be removed, because this is where the underfloor loop sort of ends, I guess. So now that all of that is neatened up, what we need to do is start running the underfloor heating pipe and then mark where we need to make slits in our beams here, because obviously the underfloor heating pipe has to run at the same height as these, so there has to be either grooves or just downright slits. So let's do that, because this is heavy. So we've already mapped out the subfloor utilities, and this whole thing might change here, but this is relatively straightforward. So if we turn it the right way, so this is the door, this is the front step, this is the couch. So this is where the main highways will be from the heater. This is where the electrics are, and then this whole green thing is the glycol underfloor heating line.
So a lot of our underfloor heating brains are going to be in this area under here. So we're going to have this as our entrance and exit for the pipe to come in and out of. That's why we haven't got a beam here. So we want to start this end in here.
We need to make sure that we have enough, because we don't know exactly
what
we're going to need.
So we'll put maybe a little bit of excess here. Maybe...
Yeah.
So we've got this little tool here, this pipe bender, to help us bend the pipe around the corners that we need to, rather than just trying to do it by hand. Put that in there. And that like that. And that way, that bends the pipe around the corner.
Okay, now if you remove it, does it retain that shape?
It should do. Yep, there we go.
Yeah, that's pretty good.
Now you might be wondering how we're going to keep this pipe down on the floor, because at the moment it's just going to do that if we don't secure it down. So what we found are these. So I'm not sure their exact name, but I'll leave a link down in the description below. But what they are is they've got a little barb to spike into the PIR board, and they're used to hold some sort of pipe against PIR board, which is exactly what we need them for. So to start off, we know this pipe is going here, so we can put this there and basically push it in to the PIR board like so, and that way that's held in place there, and that's not going to come loose. See, I can pull up on that and it's not coming out, and then with the floor on top there'll be enough coverage.
This is obviously our electrical loom, and we don't want the heat from this to really interfere here, so that's why we have this insulation barrier here, and it's also best to also move the pipe a little bit further away.
Yeah, so if we want that in the middle, I'll do the barb here. There we go.
Yeah, that's better.
Okay.
Okay, so let's unfurl all the way back.
Yeah, let's go.
That we have the van done.
Yep. Those clips have worked really well holding it in. Well, see, the pipe moves a tiny bit, but it is not going anywhere. And the aluminium rigidness inside the pipe has forced it to stay in position, so once we bent it, it doesn't like pop out. Now, can we please put in this back half of the floor?
Go ahead.
Yay! Okay. Okay. It's in. There you go.
Fabulous.
You can't see it. All of our hard work under the floor.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Let's do the rest.
Right, so for this middle section, what we're going to have to do, instead of, because of the way the blue beams are located underneath, this one has a blue beam underneath, but these three don't. Under here is just pure PIR board. So we don't have anything to screw this into if we chop it up into pieces. So instead, we're just going to have to do a groove like that. And then this basically allows the pipe to go underneath, and we can continue to screw each end into the blue beam. And that way the pipe can fit underneath the beam and the beam can still be screwed in. Alrighty, that's the underfloor heating pipe in. Overall, it went pretty well. I'm really glad with how it actually turned out, because we were wondering how on earth we're going to spiral it through some of the more complicated parts of the floor. So since we have 12mm pipe, it's recommended that the loops stay about 15 centimeters apart from one another, just so the heat output is okay for the pipe. We've pretty much stuck to that. The only places where we haven't is, I guess, this one here, because these two are relatively close, and then there's one at the front as well. So we're not entirely sure whether that will be much of a problem, but we'll test it when there's glycol running through the system and just see what it does. As for the pipe clips that we bought to hold it down, it does a really good job of holding it down in the PIR board, considering all it's attaching to is the PIR board. So we've put them as much as we can. It's recommended, again, about 15 centimeters apart. For some of the tighter bends, we've put more. The other thing is, with the pipe and the clip, it still doesn't come up to 18mm, which is the height of these wooden beams. So that means the floor that goes back on top will not rub against the pipe clips. So there you go, you can see a cross-section view of the floor coming across the pipe here, and you can see I can actually even fit my finger in that gap, nearly. But there's definitely an air gap. Let me get a light. Right. There you go. Is that it? Mm-hmm. Can you see that?
Yeah, you can see that.
Yeah, there we are. That's not going to hit at all. That'll be perfectly fine. Oh, something important about how this underfloor heating system is meant to work. Now in like big builds like houses or warehouses or whatever, usually they lay this pipe down in some sort of material like concrete or something that basically absorbs the heat and then releases it over time. And that is obviously fine if you don't have to be concerned about weight, because I don't really want to fill our floor with concrete. So since we have a weight concern, we're using our air gap and our reflectix to reflect the heat up into whatever the floor is going to be made from, and then that will release the heat. It won't retain the heat as well as concrete or something, but it will reflect the heat back up into the van and heat the space, because we've got the PIR board and the reflectix reflecting the heat up into the van.
Okay, so the PEX pipe is in, and obviously today we're not going to run glycol mixture through it because the heater's not in and we can't heat it, and it will be very, very messy. But we're both really happy with the result. This was a huge step in actually getting the underfloor heating underway, because this was a lot of bending and, you know, getting the floor out again for the millionth time. The next step we need to take is we need to decide on where all the mounting locations are for the heater, the tanks, the pipes, etc., because otherwise we will not know how long to cut the pipe. And the most important thing in that decision making process is we need to talk about one-way pipe systems versus two-way pipe systems, and we think we're going to tackle that next video. Hopefully, I think. That's the plan anyway. Yeah, so see you next time.